Programming with Python session 2. For those who have attended the first session, just a quick recap on session 1. So during session 1, we understood the process of installation of Python. We also discussed the way of verifying whether the Python installation has been successful. Also, we have spent some time on interaction with IDLE. IDLE stands for Integrated Development and Learning Environment, which is an IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. This IDE comes by default along with Python installation, correct? Also, we spend some time on using IDLE as a calculator by performing different arithmetic operations. And the operators that we have discussed are plus, minus, star, slash, double slash, and modulo division in IDLE. Plus is a addition symbol, minus is a subtraction symbol, star is a multiplication symbol, single slash is a integer division symbol. Sorry, single slash is a division symbol, double star is exponentiation symbol, double slash is integer division symbol, and percentage is a modulo division symbol, the remainder operator, right, in IDLE. So this is a quick recap of session 1. And now, for those who have not attended session 1 live, here is the link. Please refer to that and you can watch that video to have thorough understanding of what we have discussed in first session. All right, with that, let us move on to today's session, which is the second session. And here we are going to know how to use editor window in Python. And this editor window is something where you can type in the content, you can type in some statements, you can also save them, and you can refer to them later. Okay, and here are the simple steps that describe the process. You can go through these steps one after the other in the same order to understand how to use editor window in Python. Okay, all right. So before we move forward, I am going to show you how to use this. As you know, first open IDLE. This is IDLE that I have been referring to, right? Where we have used this as a simple calculator last time. Now, say for example, I perform multiple operations here. Okay, I ask for 5 by 2, which gives me 2 by 5. I ask for 5 double slash 2, which is integer division, which gives only integer part, which is 2. Similarly, I ask for 5 to the power 2, which is 25. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 modulus 2, modulo division 2, which is a 1. When 5 is divided by 2, what is the remainder is what I'm asking in the last statement. So I got different results. However, once I close this IDLE, I won't be able to refer to these statements once again because these are going to be destroyed or removed the moment I close this IDLE. So if you want to refer to your work later, then you have to refer to file editor. So in the same IDLE, you have different menu items. Go to the file menu, click on new file. This is how you will get another window popping up, right? And now you can type in anything here. So technically, whatever you have used an IDLE, you can also use in editor. Say for example, I type 2 plus 3, the same statement, that I was using on the editor. Ideally, sorry, not editor. Ideally, I have just kept it on the in the editor. Okay, and you will see here the star symbol here indicates that you have not saved this file. So what I am going to do is I'm going to do a save as, and here you can specify the path where you want to really store your files. And here I want to store my files in the my Python files, and you can give some name here. And please be noted that my first prog.py, the extension here, please be notified that here the extension has to be .py. Okay, for now, let us only work with .py files. Okay, save this. You see, now the name here has changed to my first prog.py instead of untitled. Right? Okay, all right. Now, what is the benefit of this? Since it is saved, I can quit from this. I can close this window, or I can go from here and I can close the window, and eventually I can also exit the IDLE. Once again, I am opening the IDLE. See all the content that I was trying, all the operations I was trying, or all the statements that I was executing last time, those all got disappeared. What I can do is I can open the file that I have created myself last time. I can double click on this file and it will open up. You see the content or the statement that I have written inside my file is safe, so that I can refer to this again and again. So if you want to save your work, IDLE is not a suitable option, but from IDLE you can go to file and you can create a file and you can type in whatever you want, whatever statements you want to type in within your file, and then you can save it so that you can refer to them in future. All right, now the same statement, if I try from IDLE and press enter, I get a result instantly, right? Because this IDLE is an interactive shell where the moment you press enter, immediately you'll get the response. Let us try the same operation from file editor. Okay. Yes, I have one statement here, but how to execute this statement, right? For executing the statements inside your file, you have to choose run module option from run menu. See, I'm doing this for you. Here you see no output generated. The same statement when you tried from IDLE, you get an instant output soon as you press enter. However, if the same statement was kept into a file and if I do a run option, I don't get any response. I won't get the output. My expectation is to get the output of 5 here as well, right? So that is a key difference between IDLE and the file menu or file editor. So what you have to do in order to get the response is you have to print. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some extra statement here. Print, okay, all should be in the lower case because here it is case sensitive. Open the bracket, put the statement, arithmetic statement inside the bracket, and then ultimately close it. Now you see I have changed my file, but my file is not changed. So you see a star symbol over here indicating that your file has some unchanged content. So go to file and click on save button so that that star will go away, indicating that the file content has been saved to the disk so that you can refer to this in future. All right, I'm going to now once again run this module. See, you got the response of file. So the same statements you can try in the file mode as well. However, they won't produce output unless you use something called print. So this print in Python is a function. Print is a function. Generally, if ABC is a function, it looks like this. The name of the function is ABC and it will be having opening and closing braces for sure. In between, it may have something, it may not have something. Here, I have type 2 plus 3. So that means there is something within the brackets. Okay. So print is a function that Python knows by default, and the definition of the print and all will come along with Python. So you need not write any extra code for uh, and telling the Python what print means. Print is something that Python already knows. So print 2 plus 3. I'm going to run this once again. So there is again some unchanged file, but still I'm going to run this. See, automatically it will ask you whether you want to save this or not. Say yes, and you see it produced the output. Clear? So this is how you can start using file editor from IDLE. Okay, you can invoke the file editor, and of course I'm now closing this. I am also exiting from IDLE. I am once again showing you how to deal with files. First open the IDLE, go to file menu. If you already have the file already saved somewhere, go to that path and then you can double click on that file. It will open up and it give you the content. Yes, but again, what is print? Okay, to understand what a particular element in Python is, you can use something called help. Again, you tell me what is help. Help is a function. I just now said that any name that is followed by opening and closing braces, optionally having something in between, is a function. So help is a function. Now I'm going to type print within the brackets. What I'm asking Python is, please tell me, please provide the help on print. I don't know what print is. So please let me know what print is what I'm asking. Okay. Yes. Save this. Run this. You see here, the first output refers to the very first statement. Now these are the statements. You have two statements in your file. Now you can call it as a program, because a program is a set of statements. Okay, collection of statements, group of statements. This is the first statement. This is the second statement. The first statement has produced the output 5, because 2 plus 3 is 5. And the second statement, where you ask to provide the help on print. So print, see what does print do? Prints the values of the stream or to sys.output. Here you remember sys.output is by default the screen that you see. Okay, this is the sys.output at this point of time. Okay, the system output stream. Okay, and you also have a couple of options that we're going to talk about each of them in some time. What is sep, the separator? What is end? What is the end symbol? How does it impact? Okay. And the last two arguments we're not going to talk in this session, but you can explore these in the subsequent sessions once we talk about streams or not. However, now you came to know that at least a high level idea you got is that print is what? It is a function used to print the values. And I did the same in this example. Print I have used to print the values. Okay, 2 plus 3 is what I have asked Python to print by passing this expression 2 plus 3 as argument to print. Whatever you write inside the brackets, that is treated as argument to that function. Print is a function, 2 plus 3 is an argument here. Here, help is a function, print is an argument to help. Okay. All right. So if you want to preserve your work for future reference, what you have to do is, don't do it immediately, but from IDLE you open a file and type in the statements and save that file so that you can refer to them later. And of course, what if I use the same statement here, help print? You get the same output. But this output was produced by IDLE because you have typed the command at three greater than symbols, the IDLE prompt, right? And IDLE has provided this output. And this output was provided by what? Your content of the file, right? So that is a difference, right? Here you can understand what program, as part of what execution of what program this output has been generated. So it gives you the complete path of your file that you have executed, and it produces the output of the statements one after the other. This is output of the first statement, and this entire thing is the output of the second statement. All right. So now you understand how you can get the help of any Python element. Here print is a Python function to print the values. So if you want to get more details about print, you can use help. Right. Now, what if I also wanted to print 5 minus 3? Yes, it's the same thing. Yes, follow the same pattern. I want to print 3 times 6. 3 times 6. I also want to print, okay, 10 divided by 4. I also want to print 10 divided by 4, the integer division. Okay. I also want to understand the result of 2 to the power 5. Okay. So this is how you can write as many statements as you wish in your file. Here all of them are output statements because print is an output function. Okay, print is an output function. It produces the output, right? So here you're performing addition, subtraction, you're performing here multiplication, division, right? And then exponentiation operation. Okay, exponent symbol is this, right? And this is what? The integer division. And we can also try the last one, which is modular division operation. Okay. Save this and then run this. See, let us compare the result. We can minimize this, we can bring it here and we see 2 plus 3 is what you have asked. So the first line has produced 5. 5 minus 2 is what you asked, and 3 is the result. 3 times 6 is 18, and this 18 is that, right? Similarly, the next line 10 divided by 4, and Python by default, Python by default gives you the quotient which is having decimal point, right? So this is 2.5. 2 to the power 5 is 32, and when 10 is divided by 4, give me only integer part is what it was. This is integer division operation. So you got 2, and in the last statement you have asked for remainder. When 10 is divided by 4, what is the remainder? So the remainder is 2. So this is how the execution of your file has produced all this output. Clear? All right, let's jump on to the next topic. So now you understood how to use the editor window in Python. Okay, these are the steps. You can try these steps on your own, and you should also be able to perform these steps successfully, right? And if you refer to this particular link that is here on the slide, you can understand more functionality about IDLE in Python. Okay. All right. Getting help. I have already shown this. So in order to get help of anything, here are the steps. You can get the help from either IDLE or you can get it from file mode as well. So the help of print function, as you have seen here, this is what you got when you have asked for help on print function, right? And if you want to get more details on functions in Python, this is a link. You can refer to this. All right, and I have also shown you how to open a file in from the editor, right? Python editor, and these are the steps you can follow these to open a file anytime. Okay. The next one is arithmetic operators in editor. This is also what I just shown you just now, right? So how do you do this? So this is an exercise now for you. This is a hands-on exercise. So you can also try this, right? Perform below operations in file editor. Record the output in the provided space. Finally, save the file as arithmeticoperations.py and close the file. This exercise covers all the topics that we have discussed so far in this session. So you can quickly try these things. So the first operation is addition. So the operation you need to try here is add 12 and 39. So what is the operator you use here? Plus, because it is addition operation. And then you have to do all these operations in the editor now, right? So by default, you won't get the output if you just type in 12 plus 39 in editor. So you need to use print function. So within the print function, you need to pass 12 plus 39 as argument, correct? So that is how I'll do this for you, the very first one. So you see, I will just quickly try the first one. See, add 12 and 39. So how do I do that? I need to also produce the output, right? So just to add 12 to 39, you don't need any print statement. However, you have to print that. So you have to use print. Similarly, add 1 to 9999. Another print for this. Add 1 to 9999. Next statement. Find the sum of 9, 2 and 5. That means here there are three operands, right? 9 plus 2 plus 5, correct? Similarly, see, these are different ways of asking you to add two numbers. Find the total of, find the sum of, add, any kind of such statement can be given to you, but ultimately all these result into the same operation, right? Now, of course, there are more operations to come, but if you have to now save this as arithmetic operations.py, go to file menu, click on save as, because you want to save this with a different name. Okay, so save this by name arithmetic operations.py and save this. All right, now I'll just run this for you to show you the output. This is the ideally count, and now I'm going to run this, and you see, let us compare. This is output, right? See, 12 plus 39 is 51. Yes, the first line has produced this. Second one, 1 plus 9999 is 10,000, and that's what it is. 9 plus 2 plus 5 is 16. That's what you see here. 63 plus 5 is 68, and that's what you see here. This is how, and say for example, you run this one more time. You get that same output because you did not change anything in your program. So program now this is nothing but a set of instructions, set of statements to Python. So a set of statements is nothing but program. So now you are able to write Python program using file editor. Clear? So like this, you can continue with rest of the operations. Okay. You can perform the subtraction. You can also perform the multiplication. You can also perform the exponentiation operation, division operation, floor division or integer division operation, and also modular division operation. Okay. You need to try all these from file menu. Don't worry about all this content. This content will be made available for all of you at the end of this session so that you can practice all these exercises. And I would also like to bring to your notice about the content of the last session as well. So please refer to the website technolearnit.com and click on resources, and you see here the resources of the Python sessions that are going on. If you click on this session 1, these are the resources that were available for you to download and use them for your use. Okay, and at the end of this second session, there will be you will be able to see something similar to this as session 2, and by clicking on that URL, you can refer to all the content that you are seeing during this session, and you will also have some exercises around it and all that, so you can use that content. Okay, so that there will be activity sheets. Okay, there will also be the concept builder sheets, so you can go through them, you can understand the concepts, you can also do the exercises from the activity sheet. Okay, and at the same time you can also know when will be the next session. Of course, the next session will be updated here again. The next session will be again on coming Sunday, which is on 17th of May. Okay, so the live session link will be updated here in the website. So this is a good resource for you. If you have not referred to this website, please go through this. You will understand a lot of stuff about this organization. So who are we, what we offer, all, and also the mission and also the courses, what different courses we offer. Okay, and if you want to contact us, here are the contact numbers. You can directly call us or you can WhatsApp us, or if you want to drop a email, you can use this mail ID. And please um, follow us on different platforms, right? For example, I'll tell you the advantage of following up us on this, because every day we have been posting the quizzes. Okay, so if you go to LinkedIn, we have been doing this actually, right? So I'll just quickly show you. So this, yeah, these are all the quizzes that we keep posting every day, and these quizzes were after our last session. So all this quiz covers the topics from the last session. Similarly, after this second session is complete, we will be posting the quizzes every day. You will be getting one quiz covering the topics that we have discussed and covered in the second session, right? So that is why you please follow us on different platforms as you see here, including LinkedIn, Twitter, and also here you can, from the website directly you can go to the links, and you from there you can refer to, and also on the YouTube channel also these short YouTube shorts are there, and these shorts are nothing but the quizzes. So you have enough content for you to learn these topics even from scratch. So these are the shorts that we have been publishing every day, and if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will be getting the notification, and you can also guess the answer, and the answer will be included within the same quiz. So you can pause the video if you want before you think and guess the answer, and afterwards you can go ahead and play the rest of the video to understand or to validate your guess. All right, so I would suggest you to subscribe to this Technolearnit YouTube channel. And the reason for asking you to subscribe is we are also going to, by the end of this session, you will be able to write some interesting programs, which is very important both from interview point of view and also the academic point of view. So we will be conducting some quizzes. Okay, for getting the feedback from you. Like, for example, if I ask you to practice 30 programs, out of those 30 programs, what are the programs that you felt to be difficult? So all that survey will be taken care. One based on the survey response, we will be deciding on what are the programs to be stressed upon in the next session, so that all of you would be comfortable with programming. All right. So please subscribe to this YouTube channel and also follow the rest of the social media links. Okay. And resources is very important for you, where you can refer to the material that you have been watching through this session. And for after every session, you this page will be updated with the content. And the next session, there is no any place where you have to really go. This entire website will have the information like when will be the next session, right? So by clicking on this, you will get the link to the next live. All right. So it is very important for you to subscribe and also follow us on all these social media channels. All right, let's jump on to our session again. All right, so all these operations, you can move ahead and you can practice this uh, by the end of this session. Okay, let's move on. This is a concept builder. Um, this talks about a concept called a variable. And the concept of variable is important in any programming language. And let us see what the concept of variable is in Python. Let us take a real-time example. Okay, there is a person who has gone to ATM using his debit card. He has made some transaction. The transaction can be either depositing the money through the ATM machine or withdrawing the money using his debit card from the ATM machine. Okay. Now, as I said, transactions are of two types. It could be a credit meaning he has deposited the amount, and the debit means he has withdrawn the amount. Correct? Now, on March 18th, what did he do? What is the operation he has performed? He has performed a credit, because the credit is represented using purple color or blue color, whatever you see there, and the debit is represented using red color. Okay. So on March 18th, 2000 rupees has been credited to his account. With that, he got a balance of 23,500 in his bank. In his bank account now, the balance is 23,500. On April 13th, he has withdrawn 1,500 rupees, after which the bank balance has become 22,000. Right? On April 22nd, he has credited 3,200 rupees to his account. With that, the bank account balance has become 25,200. Correct? Follow this sequence of instructions carefully. Sequence of operations he has performed. Sequence of transactions he has performed. Right? On September 27th, he has credited 2,000 rupees to his bank account. With that, his bank account balance has become 27,200. On October 12th, he has withdrawn or he has debited 2,000 800 rupees. After which his bank account balance has become 24,400 rupees. Okay, where is the concept of variable in this entire story, right? Here the bank balance is a variable. Why is the bank balance called variable here? Because after every transaction, the bank balance is changing. Variable is something that tends to change. Okay, the one that can vary is variable. Okay, so the bank balance is changing after each step. Yes or no? After each transaction, the bank balance changes. Correct? So here the bank balance is a variable. So a variable is something that is changeable, and here the bank balance is variable. Okay. So here the bank balance changes after each transaction. Correct? The bank balance at some point of time was 23,500, and at later time it became 22,000. At some later time it became 25,200, and at other time it became 27,200, and at later time it became 24,400. You see, your bank balance keeps changing, right? The entity that tends to change is nothing but variable. Variable means it tends to change. It can change, right? So here bank balance is treated as a variable. All right. This is from the real life example. Every one of us know that when you do some transaction on your bank account, your bank balance may change. Whether it is credit or debit, definitely your bank balance would be impacted in some or the other way. Right? Now, from the programming world, how do you represent this? So equal to is called assignment operator, and this assignment operator is used to assign a value to a variable, right? So bank balance is a variable name here, and if you want to store 23,500 in there, the statement to be used is bank balance equal to 23,500. You see, later the bank balance has become 22,000. So you use the same variable name, bank balance, but store a different value in it, assign a different value to it. Makes sense? That is how you can see multiple bank statement assignment statements coming out. However, the value on the right hand side, which is 23,500, 22,000, 25,200, 27,200, 24,400. You know what all these are called? These are constants. Constant means wherever you use it, its value is intact. It will never change. So if you use 23,000 or 23,500 in the context of some statement, and if you are using the same number 23,500 in a different statement, in a different context, however, the value this 23,500 represents remains the same. It will never change. So the counterpart of variable is constant. So you see some constants here, and you also see some variables. There is only one variable that you see, that is bank balance. Bank balance is a variable. 23,500 is a constant. 22,000 is also another constant. 25,200 is another constant. So constants are stored in a variable. Okay. And the value of the variable may change from time to time. When I say time to time, for how long the value of the bank balance remained as 23,500? As long as no transaction has been taken place, right? Similarly, when you are executing the statements in your program one after the other, As long as the statement has not been executed, the value of that variable remains at that value. The moment the statements get executed, the value of the variable can change. Right? This is the concept of a variable. Okay. And in this example, bank balance is a variable and its value changes after each transaction, whether it is a credit transaction or a debit transaction doesn't matter, but its value keeps changing after each transaction, right? So, interestingly, in the concept of variable, the variable name can appear both on the left hand side as well as on the right hand side of the assignment operator. In this example, you have assigned 21,500 to bank balance. Okay. And you have credited 2,000 rupees to your bank account. What happened now? Your bank balance has become 23,500. How? You have to consider the current bank balance, which is a 21,500. That was a bank balance before you have made this transaction, and you need to add. Why to add? Because it is a credit operation. You need to add 2,000 to that. So the statement becomes bank balance is equal to bank balance plus 2,000. This is interesting. That means you can write some statements in your program like A equal to A plus B. It may look strange for the people who are in this programming world for the first time, but it makes very much sense in the programming. You have to understand this concept very carefully. So A equal to A plus B, A equal to A plus 10. All these statements are valid in programming. So as an analogy to our real-time operations here, the bank balance is a variable in which you have stored 21,500 initially. Now, since you are going to credit 2,000 rupees to that, you should first consider the current bank balance, which is 21,500, and you need to add 2,000 to that. Of course, when you do some operation, you get a result. Where to store that result? You need to store that result into the same variable. Why? Because this sum is going to act as in your new bank balance. So the same variable has to be updated. That is why bank balance is a variable that you can see both on the left hand side of the assignment operator as well as right hand side of the assignment operator in all these examples. The only difference would be the type of operation that you perform. Instead of addition, you will be performing subtraction in case of the transaction being debit. However, finally, the bank balance variable keeps changing after each transaction, and finally it would be holding a value of 24,400. This is a concept of variable. This is the real-time analogy that you can consider to understand the concept of variable in programming. Okay. All right. Now you know how to use variables and how do I print the values of the variables, right? How do I print the values of variables in Python? Let us take the same example of bank transactions. And you see here, initially the bank balance is assigned a value of 21,500. You have assigned a constant 21,500 to the variable bank balance. That is the first statement. And in the second statement, you are using print function. Print and mention the name of the variable so that the value of the variable will be printed. Let us do this quickly. So I have bank underscore balance, which is 21,500. Okay. And ideally, nothing happens if you have just assigned a value to a variable. Bank underscore balance is a variable, and you have assigned a value 21,500, which is a constant to that variable. Now, if it is directly an IDLE, you can ask IDLE to print the value of this variable. See, when you print the name of the variable and press enter, it will print the value of that variable. The other way is print. Okay, this print will help you if you want to do this operation from file editor. If it is in IDLE, you can directly refer to the name of the file, the name of the variable, so that it can print the value. Similarly, if you have a variable x, you can store some number in that. And now you can ask, what is the value of x? It is 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the value of variable bank balance? It is same 21,500 because you did not change the value of bank balance. What would be the value of x now? Same, it is 1, 2, 3, 4 because you did not touch that, you did not change that in between. The value of the variable remains same. But again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to store some different value in x. X is 10, x is equal to 10. I have assigned a new value 10 to x. Now ask for the value of x, it would become 10. And what happened to this value 1, 2, 3, 4? That was overwritten is what we say. The value 1, 2, 3, 4 was overwritten by the new value 10. So now the value of x is just 10. What is the value of bank balance? At this point of time, it is still 21,500 because no operation has changed the value of it. If you want to change the value, you can write some statement like say I'm going to credit 2,500, so I'm using plus. Yes, but how do we know uh, the value of latest value of bank balance? You type it. You see now the value of bank balance has changed because this statement has caused a change or update in the value of this variable. So that is how the value of the bank balance was 21,500 at some point of time, but now it is 24,000. This is how the value of the variable may change based on the statements that you write in the program, based on the operations you perform in the program. Let us do the same thing from our file editor. So let us take some variable x and I have stored 10 in it and I print the value of x. What is expected out of this print statement here? It would be just 10. Yes or no? And I say x is equal to x plus 24. Again, I print the value of x. Right? So there are two output statements. So I should see two output lines produced. For the first print, the output expected output would be 10, and for the second one, it would be. So remember here how to interpret this statement in the first place, right? You have x on left hand side, you also have x on the right hand side of this operator. Then you should always consider the part that is on the right hand side of the assignment operator first. So look at this carefully. This is an expression, right? What is x value at this point of time? It's 10. So just substitute 10 in this place. 10 plus 24 is how much? 34. That means you have evaluated this expression and the value of this expression has become 34. Okay. Now that 34, now come to the left hand side because we have completed the evaluation of the statement on the right hand side. The final result, which is 34, will be assigned or stored in x again. So the old value 10 will be overridden or overwritten by the value 34. So now once again you are asking for the value x value, it will give you 34. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to run this. Okay, you see, this is the first print where x was 10. This is the second print where x became 30 for the same x variable, but the value of that variable has changed. That is how the value of the variable can change from time to time. When I say time to time, from statement to statement. At this point of time during execution of the program, x remains as 10. The moment these statements get executed, this statement gets executed, x becomes 34. And this print now refers to the latest value of x, because the value, a variable can hold only one value at a time. So this variable holds a value 34, and if you ask to print it, you will be get 34. This is how you can use variables both from IDLE as well as from your file editor. All right, now hope all these things make sense. Okay, so you started a variable with a value of 21,500. After that, you have printed the value of the variable here in the second statement, which produces 21,500 as output. In the third statement, you have considered the current value of bank balance, which is 21,500. You have added 2,000 to that, and the result would be 23,500, and that value will be stored in the same variable bank balance. So now from statement 3, once the statement 3 gets executed, the value of bank balance would be 23,500. Once again you are printing the latest value of this bank balance variable. It would be 23,500 at this point of time. On statement 5, you again refer to bank balance. What is the value of bank balance at this point of time at this step? 23,500. And from that 23,500 you are subtracting 1,500, and the result would be 22,000. That 22,000 will be stored in bank balance variable, same variable. So once fifth statement is executed, the value of bank balance would be 22,000. So when you print bank balance here, what will you get? 22,000. You again consider the 22,000 here, the latest value of the variable, and you add 3,200 to that, because this refers to this credit operation. So you have added 23,200 to this, where the result would be 25,200. The value of this entire expression on the right hand side would be 25,200, and that will be once again stored in the same variable. So once statement 7 is executed, the value of bank balance would be 25,200. You print, you will get 25,200. Can you consider that 25,200? You add 2,000 to this, right? And the result of the right hand side expression would be 27,200, which would be once again stored in bank balance, same variable. You print, you'll be getting 27,200, right? And finally, you subtract 2,800 from 27,200, and you store it here. If you once again print it, you will be getting 24,400. But if you don't print it, just the value of the variable remains as 24,400. This is how the variables work in programming. All right, how to use variables in IDLE. Again, this is a hands-on exercise. You will be getting the resource for this. It's more or less same operation, very similar operations to the earlier ones. So what you can do here is, there are instructions given to you, just follow those instructions. I'll be doing the first exercise for you. This all is to be done from IDLE, because this exercise is to do it through IDLE. So I just get the IDLE here. Okay, let me restart the shell so that, or let me open IDLE fresh so that it would be easy for me to show you the operations. All right, once you have this IDLE window coming up here, look at the first statement. Store 12 in variable num1. What is num1? Num1 is a variable name. Variable name appears on the left hand side. So how to store 12 in num1? You have to write the statement like num1 equal to 12. Num1 is a variable name, 12 is a constant. Correct? Okay. Press enter. Second, B, the statement B, store 23 in variable num2. How do you do that? Num2 equals to 23. Yes, done. So you have two variables so far. They are num1 and num2. Okay. The values that have been stored in these two variables are 12 and 23 respectively. Store their sum in sum. Here what is sum? Sum is another variable. How do you find the sum of num1 and num2? Directly use the variables in your expression. So what you are saying here is take the value of num1 variable which is 12, also take the value of num2 variable which is 23, sum them up. Indirectly you are saying 12 plus 23, what is the value? Evaluate 12 plus 23 and store that result in a variable called a sum is what you are saying. So here you have three variables in total. Num1 is one variable, num2 is other variable, sum is other variable. You add these up and you store the result in variable sum. Next statement, print the value of sum. How to print? Use print function to print. Print the value of which variable? There are three variables. Which variable you are supposed to print here as per this statement? Only sum variable. So you have to use a variable name sum here. Correct? All right. Save this. Run this. Okay, of course, you can save it as, if there is no statement given here, like you can save it with any name. I'll again go back to the same path and I say addition.py or whatever you can give and save. Yes, now it is saved and I'm going to run this. Okay, so you get a value of 35 here as expected. So in this entire statement, everything is a variable, okay, except the operators. Num1 holding a value 12, substitute the value 12 here, plus num2 23, substitute the value 12 plus 23, 35. Yes, you got the result of 35 on the right hand side and store it in a variable called sum and print. Yes, sir. So this is how you can write the statements and you can use variables and you can also use variables with print. So simple thing is if I use print with a value 10, what will be printed? 10 will be printed, right? If I print 44, if I say print 44, 44 will be printed instead of that. If I store that 44 in a variable x, and if I ask print to print x, it prints 44. Okay, this is how you can print the values of the variables using print. Here you are directly passing the constant to print, it will print as it is. Here you are passing the variable name. So again, now the question may come, print x, why doesn't it print x? Why does it print the value stored in a variable? How does it know whether x is a variable or x has to be treated as x itself? If you put this as a single quotes, then it prints x, right? So this is now called string constant. So here, if you print this, if you represent this x in single quotes, it treats this a literal value of this, literal meaning of this. That means it prints x. But if you don't put this x in single quotes, then it treats x as a variable and it refers to the value of the variable, and that is what it prints here. Now you tell me, if I ask to print the value of a, what does it print? Here a has to be treated as a variable or string constant like this. It has to be treated as a variable. Why? Because it is not enclosed within single quotes. Anything that is enclosed within single quotes, then only it treats it as a string constant. But here k is not enclosed within a single quotes, so this should be a variable. Do you see any variable by name a within this entire scope? There is no variable called a anywhere within this entire scope. There is no a variable called a. So if you try such things, you will get a syntax error, name error. Okay. So as you see here, name a is not defined. That means it doesn't know what a is. So before you use a variable, it has to be initialized with some value like this. Now you can try the same statement. Interestingly, it won't produce any error. Now it knows that, okay, a means a variable holding a value 10. So it can print the value of that variable. All right. So this is how you can practice all these operations. So these are all different operations. Again, you need to try these in IDLE, and this allows you to get good hold on variables, how to use variables, how to store a constant in a variable, right? All these things you can practice. This exercise sheet will also be available for you by the end of this session on the website. You can go there, you can download that, and you can practice all those exercises. Now, the same variables can also be used in editor. So here are the steps. Again, you can perform the same operations in editor instead of IDLE. Last time we have done this in IDLE, now we have to do this in editor. So you have to open the file editor, right? And then how do you perform these operations in file editor instead of IDLE? It's the same thing, no? But the only thing is when you are printing, you have to use print statement. Okay. So you tell me now, and interestingly, in the IDLE, just give me a second. If I only type in sum, what will I get? I'll get the result. I need not use print here. Why? Because it's ideally interactive development and learning environment where you can quickly and conveniently interact with Python. So as long as there is a variable called sum within the scope of where you are asking for, it can produce the output of that variable. Makes sense? Whereas in editor, that is not possible. You have to explicitly use print statement for that. That is the key difference. Okay. Let me go to the editor once again. So again, follow the same steps. Store 12 in variable number. What is the statement you need to write? Num1 is equal to 12. Next statement. Store 23 in num3. Next statement. Store their sum in sum. Sum is another variable. How do you write it? Don't write 12 and 23. Okay. You have to use a variable name here. Num1 plus num2. Then print the value of sum. Here you cannot directly say sum, because if you directly say sum, it won't print. For example, I'm going to save this and show it to you. We just run this. See, there is no output produced. Why? Because you are in the editor mode. In the editor mode, if you refer to a variable, it won't directly be printed by default. So you have to use print function for that. Now save this. Now run this. And you can see the output printed here as 35, right? So this 35 has been computed based on the values stored in two variables num1 and num2, and that's what you are going to print. This is how you can use editor mode to perform the same operations. Once again, you can use different variables, you can try all these operations. Again, this activity sheet will also be available for you, and you can refer to these operations and you can practice. All right. Now that you know what a variable is, There are certain rules to be followed when you are naming the variables. We are going to learn them. So these are the first three rules that you need to always keep in mind when you are naming the variables in Python. Okay. Rule number one says a variable name can contain letters. Letters means here alphabets. Digits. Digits are 0 to 9 in decimal number system and underscores. Okay. So you see what are the valid variable names and what are invalid variable names you can see there. Okay. NUM. Is it a valid variable name? Of course, yes. Why? Because it adheres to the rule that we have just looked at. Does it contain letters? Yes, it contains letters. Any digits? No, optionally it can contain digits, but there are no digits. Still, it is treated as a valid variable name. Okay. Num1. Num1 is also a valid variable name because it has letters. N is a letter alphabet. U is an alphabet. M is an alphabet. 1 is a digit. So it is the name consists of letters and digits. Both are valid, no? So num1 is a valid variable name. Third one, num underscore one. Num underscore one is also a valid variable name because N, U, and M, these are alphabets or letters. Underscore is something that is allowed within the variable names, and one is a digit. So num underscore one is also a valid variable name. Okay. Now look at num at the rate. NUM or what? Yes, NUM or NUM or alphabets or the letters. Valid. At the rate is a special symbol, but the only special symbol that is allowed within the variable names is underscore. So at the rate is not allowed. So if you try to define a variable by name num at the rate, you will get an error. Let us try this quickly. Either from IDLE or IDLE, anything is fine. So if I go to IDLE or editor, okay, say for example, I say num equals to 10. Well, good. Num1 equal to 20. Yes. Num underscore 1 is equal to 23. Yes, all this is valid. Num at the rate is equal to 34. See, syntax error. Why? Because this is not treated as a valid variable name. This is not a valid variable name. So this is how you have to keep these rules to be followed while naming the variables. So num at the rate is not a valid variable, so you'll be getting invalid syntax. This is the syntax error. Make sense? All right. Similarly, hash num1. Hash num1 is also an invalid variable name. What is the reason? It has a special symbol other than underscore. Hash is not recognized as a valid uh, element within the variable name. Num underscore plus. Plus is again another symbol that is not allowed within the variable names. So if you try variable names like this, for example, hash num1 is equal to world. Okay. So here hash is treated as a comment. That's the reason you did not get syntax error. But let me show you something like this. See here, I'll come to the comments in some time in the same session. But here, when you write something starting with hash symbol, then it is treated as a comment. What is a comment? We'll talk about that later. But anyways, this kind of variables cannot be used in your program. Okay. Similarly, num underscore plus is equal to somewhere. This is also syntax error. So all these rules are very important for you to understand. Generally, if you are the beginner if you are new to the programming, when you just try to use such variable names, you may get syntax error. But keep in mind the meaning of syntax error is that the variable name that you are used is not valid. It is not as per the standard rules that we need to follow while naming the variables. Then change the variable name and try it out. It should work. Similarly, second rule states that A variable name cannot have any spaces in between. So what are valid here? My underscore name, I'm sorry, my underscore age is a valid name. My age, there is no space, so still okay. My age, A is a capital in age, that is also a valid variable name. There is no any space within the variable names. Here you use my space age, it's not valid. My space age being a capital, two spaces in between, these are all not valid. Let us quickly try this out. So if I say my age is 10, all good. My age is 10. You see, these two are two different variables because Python is case sensitive in this case. So my age and my age, these are two different variables. Okay, how do I prove that these are two different variables? There is something called ID. If you use this ID, you will get some unique number, and you can also get the same ID for, you can apply ID for, or you can call ID for my capital ID. Okay, so okay, here the values, the ID is same. The reason being these two variables hold the same value. Let me show you with a different example. My age is 16, for example. Now once again I print the value of ID. My capital AGE, it would be different. You see, this ID is different than this one, right? So if you print the value of ID, my age lowercase, that would be different than this. That means these two variables are different. So variable names are case sensitive. Okay. But remember, when two variables hold the same value, their ID will be same. But the moment you change the value of one of those variables, it will have its own ID. That's why here the IDs are clear. All right. So you can use this, and of course if I try to use my age with a space is equal to 12, see, this is a syntax error. So keep in mind that you should not use any spaces while you are naming your variables. Okay, let's move on. The third rule states that cannot use Python keywords as variable names. So my underscore age is a valid variable name because my underscore age is not a keyword within Python. Num1 is not a keyword within Python. Run underscore 2 is not a keyword within Python. So what are keywords again? As you see here, if is a keyword, true is a keyword, yield is a keyword. But how do I know what are keywords within Python and that I cannot use as variable names? For that, you can try this import keyword and print keyword dot kw list. Kw list stands for keywords list. Okay, import keyword and then print keyword dot kw list. Let us try that quickly. So what you need to type in here, import keyword, then print, okay, keyword dot kw list. See, this is a list of keywords within Python. So yield is what yours. I said that yield cannot be used as a variable name because it is a keyword within Python. So if you want to know the list of keywords within Python, this is how you have to do. You have to use two statements. One is import keyword, and since you are in IDL, you can directly use keyword.list without print also. That should also give you the same result. Yes. So you cannot use any of these as your variable names. For example, what if I use yield as my variable name? Yield equals to 24. See, syntax error. See, similarly, I use, for example, the first one, use a keyword false is equal to false is equal to 23. Syntax error. Right. Randomly, I'm picking. See, I'm just showing you how finally equals to 34, syntax error. So this is how you cannot use these keywords as your variable names. All right. let's move on. Now, these are the three rules that you already know, and I have shown you practically what happens if you use these invalid names as your variable names. There are four more rules. The fourth rule states that the variable name must start with a letter or underscore only. These are very, very important rules to be followed throughout your Python programming. Okay, so it is worth knowing these rules. Okay, so my underscore age, all good because the variable name can start with a letter or alphabet. Okay, here letter means alphabet. Okay, or it can start with underscore. So all that's first three, my underscore age, underscore my underscore age, underscore my age. You can use multiple underscores here, okay, and for the variable name. But of course, two underscores are reserved for Python reserved names. But anyways, don't try to use two underscores to your variables. But these things will be discussed later. But this is how you can still use a variable name. 5 marks. Why is this not a valid variable name? Because it starts with a digit. At the rate cost, not a valid variable name. Dollar value. Dollar is a special symbol that cannot be used in a variable name set up. That too, it cannot be used at the beginning of the variable name, first of all, right? So that's the reason all these three are invalid variable names. So if you try any of them, you should get error. Say, for example, 5 marks is equal to 19, syntax error. So this is how you should be very careful and follow these variable rules to name the variables. Variable names are case sensitive, as I already shown. Age is 20, capital A, age is 30, and everything in capital Age is 40. So as I have shown you, I'll quickly show you this as well on the IDE. You can experiment on the in the file as well. So for example, age is 12, age is 13, age is 14. So you see, there are these are treated as three different variables. If I print the value of age, lowercase, it is 12. It is not 14, remember. That is how you can understand that these are three different variables. If I ask for the value of age, it is 13. If I ask for the variable of age, all capital, it is 14. The other way of proving this is that you can ask for what is the ID of AG. It gives you some number. What is the ID of A capital GG? It is a different number altogether. What is the ID of AG? So these are all different, referring to different IDs. That means these are three treated as three different variables within Python. So variable names in Python are case sensitive. Okay, variable names are case sensitive. And variable name, rule number 6 states that the variable name should be meaningful. This is just for best practice, but there is no any hard and fast rule for this. But it is always good to follow and adhere to this rule because this will allow us to follow the industry standard coding if you are uh, developing some code in the corporate world. So instead of using PQR like this. Of course, these are all variable names, no doubt. These are all valid variable names. P equal to 20, Q is equal to 30, R is equal to 40. Instead of that, give some valid, provide some valid variable names. What does that 20 represent? If it is representing your age, call it as age. There is no harm, right? Like that. Similarly, the last one, this is again only a recommendation, but still you can always practice this as a Python programmer, okay, uses snake case convention. So snake case convention is nothing but my age. These are two different words. My is a word, age is a different word. And if you want to maintain a variable name by name my age, just use underscore within these two words. My underscore age. Similarly, another example is total marks. Total is one word, marks is another word. And if you want to use a variable name total marks, just use underscore between these two words, total underscore marks. Similarly, my average marks, if you want to go with my underscore average underscore marks. Like you can use multiple underscores within your variable name. Is valid is a one word, valid is another word. Is underscore valid makes sense to use as a variable name, which is called snake case convention. Instead of using my age or total marks or is valid, it is always recommended to use snake case in Python, which will increase the readability. It is only a recommendation. Can I use my age? Of course, definitely you can use. There is no any syntax error with this. However, just to understand, to increase the readability, if you use like this, it is easy for one to read it and understand these are two words. Okay, my underscore, which is a variable, right? That is the reason Python suggests us to use this convention. So violating any of these rules will result into syntax errors, as I've already shown you by the Python interpreter. So when you try to execute your statement, you will be getting this syntax errors. So remember, when you are getting a syntax error in your program, it means that there is something wrong, probably that you have done with your variable names. One of the reasons. And if you want to know more about the variable names and the naming conventions, here is the link. You can refer to this link and you can understand more about the naming conventions and the variable names in Python. All right. Now comes the print. We will be spending more time on print now. Okay. So as you have seen, when you asked for the help of print, it has given you multiple things that we don't know at this point of time. So let us experiment on it once again. Come back to better you go with editor. Okay, this time. Or I can even go to ideal. Let us do ideal with it. All right. So you have a variable name. Say, yeah, age is already 15, right? So see what I'm going to do here in this. I'm going to print my underscore age. What is output expected? 15, correct? Because the latest value of this variable my age is 15, right? And that is what it has printed. It has referred to the value of the variable and it has printed it as 15, correct? Now I say print my age. This is another variable. Remember, it is 16. So it has referred to this variable. It has printed it. Same thing. Let me do it from editor, file editor. So I have two variables. What is the first variable name? My age. Underscore age. And I print my age. And I also print age. Right? Save this and run this. Yes, you got 12 as a first output here, which refers to the first print statement, and the second one is my age. And interestingly, you get this output on two different lines. Correct? You got this output on two different lines. Yeah. Now, even I can play with only one variable also if required. Instead of deleting the statement, what I can do is I can add a symbol here which treats it as a comment, meaning please ignore this entire line though it is available in the statements in the file. Right now, if you save and run this program, can you guess what happens? If I run this program now, you'll get a syntax error because we are trying to print my age, of course, yes, which is 12. It understands what it is, but it doesn't know what is my underscore age because this statement is commented out. Comments are something that help us to debug the code, and comments are also helpful in describing your program. Maybe you can add some comments like here. See, I'm adding comments. This is to experiment print in Python. Okay, like this. So this can you be used to describe your state program. Okay, so you see here, you see my age is not defined. It is a name error. It doesn't know the name my underscore age. So this is expected anyways. But again, what I'm going to do is I have written two print statements. Right? I have written two print statements. My age. I'm printing the value of the variable twice. Right? What happens now? I get the same output as expected. Right? Now, in between, I have changed the value. Now, first time it would be 12, second time it would be 10. Correct? Because in between the value of the variable got changed. So this is how you can see two different outputs. Now, I want to print this value of the variable twice, but I want to print it on the same line. What happens if I try it this way as it is? I see this as two different lines of code. So if you want to really, there are different ways for this. You can say end is equal to some space. Okay, save this, and I'm going to show you what happens now. And this, you see the output has been produced on the same line, separated by a space. That means you have changed the behavior of print statement. What is the default behavior of print statement? Once it prints all the thing of that particular function, it moves to the next line automatically. However, if you don't want to move it to the next line and continue the rest of the output, the next subsequent output on the same line, you can use end and you can use space. What if I use some dollar symbol here? What you are saying is, see, Mr. Print, print the value of my age, which is 12. After that, just print dollar symbol and then come to the next one. Print my age, which is again 12. So you will be seeing $12, 12. Save this, run this. See, $12, 12. This is how you can customize the output that you want using this end. Say, for example, I want to print three stars between. Yes, mention that. Save this, run this. You get three stars in between, and the output is being continued on the same line, right? And I want a space between. So you can introduce a space also, but everything has to be kept in single quotes because this is a string that you are telling what string that you want to use between the two consecutive outputs. So you run this again, you see the same value printed spaces. Yes, it may not be the same value, of course. I'm again uncommenting this line and I'm using my underscore age. What would happen? As part of this print, it refers to the variable my age. Yes, it is within the scope, prints 12. After that, what this end indicates is please print space 3 stars space after 12 is what it says. So after 12, you see this message coming out printed on the output, but it remains on the same line of output. And you are asking to print the value of my underscore age, which is a different variable, having a value 13. So this will be printing 13. I'm going to save this, run this. You see this 12 space 3 stars space 30. Right? This is how you can use end. What if I don't give this? Automatically the output of the second print will be printed on the next line. Yes. So by default, end means it goes to the new line. New line means N. Slash n is called a new line character. Here I'm treating this as new line string. So this is how printf will be by default. So run this. You see that result now. So if you don't mention this, by default, it assumes this value. That is called default value. So again, if you print help of print, you see what is end? The same thing that I was showing you. It says that, it says that if you don't tell me anything, I will automatically go to the next line. Right? This is called a default value. End has a default value. End is a parameter. Okay. End is a parameter to this function print. It says that if you don't tell me anything, I'll automatically go to the next line. If you want to tell me something specific, you tell me accordingly, I will behave is what it's. For example, I do this and I save this. After printing the value of variable my is 12, it prints a space, prints $4, prints another space, and we wait on the same line. Then it encounters the next print, which is another variable, it prints 13 on the same line. Let us run this. That is how you get this output. Well, you understand what is end. All right. The next one is what if I print two variables on the same print? I use two variables within the same print statement. Okay. Okay. Let me try this out for you. Just run this. You get 12 and 13 within a space between, right? Why is this space coming? Where is this space coming from? Is it because of this space I used? I'm removing the space this time and I'm going to save this, run this, but no difference. I always get one space. How can I control that space? Say for example, is it if I increase the space here, will I get more space? Experiment it, but that won't happen. Always you get a single space by default. Then if I want to maintain something other than space, say I want to print star in it. You see, that is where separator. Here you are using two variables within the same print. Generally, end will be used when you are using multiple print statements. Separator will be used when you are using single print statement with multiple variables. So this is the context. You are using two variables within the same print. By default, what is a separator? It is a space. Let us try this out. This produces the same result. You see, there is no difference between these two. That is where it says, if you don't tell me anything, I use single space as a separator is what it says. And yes, that is what is happening. Instead of this, I want to say, please use star as a separator. Then what will happen? You run this, you get 12, then star and 13, right? Because you explicitly said, please use star as a separator. Please use 4 stars as a separator. Yes, let us try this out. 12, 4 stars and 13. Well, use comma as a separator. Save, run. You got a comma as a separator. This is how you can customize the output using print. Whether you are using multiple variables within the same print, whether you are using multiple prints, then you can use end argument, right? So this is all about end and separator, how to use them, right? So let's go to this now. Name is a variable. Anand is what's stored in that variable. So why is Anand in single quotes? Name is a variable. If I write like this and press enter, it gives me an error. Anand is not defined. Name error. Name error means that variable is not defined. Yes, correct. Here what is happening is name is treated as a variable by Python. Anand is also treated as a variable by Python. It is assigning one value of one variable to the other. It is like in this example, say I want to store the value of my age to my age. So I can write a statement, my age is equal to my underscore age. This is valid. You can assign one value, the value of one variable to the other variable. Okay. Similarly, if you write a statement like this, what Python treats it as is name is a variable, Anand is a variable. Now I have to find the value of the variable Anand and store it in variable name is what it treats it as. But Anand is a variable that is not available within this entire scope. But your intention is different. You don't want to treat Anand as a variable. You want to treat Anand as Anand only. So how do you say that to Python? You just say name equal to with that Anand within single quotes. Now there is no error. Now ask for the value of name. It says yes. Now name is a variable which holds a value Anand in it. Anand is a string constant. Any string constant has to be enclosed within single quotes. Okay. My age is a variable. 16 is an integer constant. Anand is a string constant. So name is equal to Anand. Right? Let's get back. Age is 21. Okay. I'll use some variable called age. And I'm assigning 21 to that. Okay, good. Next what? These are all variables. Height is 6.15. I'm going to take another variable height and store 6.15. Well, what if I print all these values? What are those variables? Name, age, and height. You can see Anand space 21 space 6.25. Why? You are using multiple variables within same print function, right? Then what is a default separator? While printing the values of different variables, it is a single space. That's why you see a single space. Clear? All right. Next, you have explicitly said separator is equal to single space. There won't be any difference between the output of statement number 4 and 5 because by default, the single space is treated as a separator anyways. Let us come to statement number 6. The separator has been explicitly mentioned as double dollar. So I am going to print what? Name, age, and height with a separator defined as double dollar. We get the output now. After Anand, the value of one variable, double dollar is printed. Next, the value of the second variable age is printed, which is 21. After which, the value of the double dollar is printed, and finally, the value of the last variable, which is height, is printed. Clear? This is how you can use separators to customize your output. Yes, this time the separator is comma. So I can ask Python to use comma as a separator while printing the values of these variables. As you see, Anand comma 21 comma 6.15. So this is how you can customize the output. Okay. And can you guess the output of line number 8? Line number statement 8. Observe the single quotes within a name, age, weight. Okay. Print name, age, height, sorry. What would be the output of this? The output of this would be name, age, and height as it is. Why is that? because this entire thing has been enclosed within a single quotes. It is now treated as string constant. So name, age, and height is treated as a string constant, and that is how you see name, age, and height printed as it is. Clear? Next, let us move on to line number 9. Here again, you see you are using multiple print statements on line number 9, 10, and 11, but the end character is space. So you can see the output coming on the same line. What is that? Name and end with single space is what you are saying. Yep. Now print age end with single space, right? Here, since this is ideally, you won't get any difference. You cannot observe the difference in the output. But if you go with editor mode, you will understand this. Okay. I'll try to put the same thing in the editor as well. I'll show you this in the editor. So, okay, what are the things? I need a name. So I need a name variable holding a value on. I need age with a value. Anything value doesn't matter. Just to understand the concept. Height is another variable with 6.15 or whatever. So here I am going to print name. Yes, with a separate with the end this case. I'm also going to print age again with the end character. Also going to print height. Since this is the last statement, last output statement, doesn't matter whether you use this or not, but this will influence the next print if at all there is some next print in this code. You see, all of these have come on the same line. So what we're trying to do here is, let me go back and instead of printing here, what I have been printing is print name, age, and height. I'm just giving a heading here. Okay, save this. You see, this is the name, this is the age, this is the height. Of course, you can, adjust the spaces and all by just looking at the output, and then um, you can say, you can extend the end here. So let's save this and this so that it will match with this. Up to you. This is all the customized output, how you can customize your output using separators and end, right? These are the arguments to print, and this is how you can deal with all these things. Clear? Any questions? So this is how you can see, you can use end, you can customize, and you can use both end and separator in the same print as you see in the statement 12, where now the output would be Anand star 21 star 6.15, and end is a hash. So if there is any, let us try that quickly, you will get an idea. So you are also using, so first of all you are using, okay, let me comment on this again. I know you know how to comment, right? This is a comment, this is a comment, this is a comment. Commenting means though the statement is available within the program or your code, it won't get executed. And you can use this in any order. Separator is what? Comma, no? I'll use comma. Anything is fine. Okay, let me save this and run this. You see here Anand, comma, because separator is comma and end character is hash. So you can see a hash coming out at the end finally. So this is how you can use separators and end arguments to customize your output, to deal with your output, whether you want to print the different lines, same lines, separated by what, all these things can be controlled using these separators. All right, let's move on. The next one is to print the customized output, further customization, right? Say, for example, you can see these statements. This is very interesting now. So if I have to first quickly make you understand with these same values, okay? So you are printing name here, but how do I know that it is a name? You can print something like this. You see, I'm saying that here this name is what? It is a string constant printed as it is, but this name refers to a variable, so it prints Anand there. Similarly, if you want to print the age, right? You can print the age like this. If you want to print the height, just describe that. Make it as height, you can put a colon or whatever you want, right? And make it as height, right? So this is how you can give some description to your output on this. You see, name is Anand, age is 21, and height is 6.5. Here you see two spaces. Why? Any guess? Because you have yourselves given the space and the separator is by default space, so it has, your code has printed, your statement has printed one space, after that separator has come and added one more space. So if you don't like two spaces, you can remove your single space and then you can once again run this. You can see single space coming out. Makes sense? This is how you can add your own description to the output in the print. Then you print the value of the variable that you are interested in. Okay, this is one part of this. So coming back to the bank balance example, at every stage you want to print the bank balance. There are different ways to do that. You can take a variable bank balance and you can print it out. Then once you do a transaction of 200 credit, you can add 2000 to bank balance and update the bank balance. And see here you are descriptive, right? You are saying bank balance colon and then bank balance. So you can see this bank balance message coming printed in the output. Okay, this is one way. The other way is using formatted output. You can use F, which stands for formatted output, and you can put everything in the single quotes and mention the description, and then whatever the variable name, you put them in the flower brackets. Does it make sense? How do I achieve this to my on my name, for example, right? Print. What is it? F, everything in single quotes, and then I say name, or I'll say my name so that there is some differentiation. Okay, my name, you see, my name. So first thing you have to do is you have to do F. Okay, and then you put lower brackets. What is a variable name from which I should get the value? It is from name variable. Okay, save this. You see here, my name. This is how you can customize. If you want to further customize it or whatever way you want to customize, you can do it with formatted output. And if you want to use a space, you can yourselves mention the space here, because separator won't come here when you are doing formatted output. Here you can get a space, right? This is how you can control how you want to produce the output. Okay, that is called formatted output. This is a syntax. F you have to start with. F has to be outside the single quotes. That's very important. And everything should be within single quotes or double quotes. For now, you can use single quotes. Give some description if you like, and then put the variable name within flower brackets. This is how you can do that. And interestingly, if you are dealing with float values or the fractional values, you can also control how many decimal values you want to see in the output. For example, you have height variable here, right? Height is having two decimal places here. If I print height directly, I'm going to remove this and I'm just going to print height and see when I run this, save this, you see 6.25. Okay, but I'm interested in only one digit after decimal point. So how can I achieve that? So for that you can use formatted output. So if you want to give some description, you can say height, okay, colon, and give some space and the variable. But if you try only like this, I'll just show you. Will be sorry, I did not close the single quotes. Yes, run this, save. It gives you height is 6.15. However, if you are interested in only one decimal, only one decimal point is what I am interested in. So you can use point 0.1 f, point 0.1 f. You see here, here you are using 0.2 f. Similarly, I am saying that give me only one decimal point after the decimal. So I'm using 0.1 f. And let me run this for you. You see, you got this only one decimal point. Why did it has rounded up? Why? Because the second decimal point is 5. If it is 5 or more, automatically this digit will be increased by 1. So 6.1 has become 6.2 because this is 6.15. Interested? Understood? Is it interesting? And say for example, my height is 6.12 and I'm going to print only one decimal point after the decimal. Only one place of the decimal. So let me run this. Now there won't be any rounding happening. It would be 6.1 exactly because your value of the variable is 6.12. So 2 is less than 5. And if this is say for example 7, now you will again get 6.2. This is how automatic rounding happens when you are using formatted output. See, you get 6 point. Makes sense. Interestingly, you got, say for example, you are asking for 5 places, but there are only 2 places in your input. You are asking for 5 places. Well, let us try this out. It will print rest of the zeros, right? But it ensures that you got 5 places printed after the decimal point. This is how you can customize your output using formatted output. Okay? That is all what this slide talks about. Okay, there is a different way of formatting. Instead of using f at the beginning, you can put everything in the single quotes and then use a dot format syntax. So you can use a dot format and then within the brackets you can mention the variable name. Okay, let me quickly try this also for you. So what is a syntax here? Remove this f from here and okay, dot format. Format is a function, remember. So you have to pass the height. Okay, and something like this. I will say run. As you see here, I did not mention it properly. Give me a second. Where is that output? Okay, sorry, I did not use brackets here. Sorry, flower brackets. Yes. Save. Run. You see output. So this is how you can use dot format method, or you can use directly f before this single quotes, and you can use, and here if you also you can mention like I am interested in only 2 digits or 1 digit or whatever it is. So in this case you can put it like this colon and then how many decimal points you want. Say for example, the same example I will try, colon dot 1f. Okay, I'm asking it to give me only one decimal point. So since this is the second decimal point is greater than or equal to 5, it should give me 6 point. So let me run this. You see it prints 6.2. So this is how you can customize the output. This is very important in the subsequent programs that you're going to write. You'll get some situations like this. That's the reason I'm stressing much upon these things. Okay. All right. Now that you know how to customize the output, add your own description, and also limit the number of decimal places if you're dealing with the decimal numbers in the output. Next one, the output justification, which is very interesting again. So again, you assume that you have three variables, the same three variables: name, age, and height. Okay. Using formatted output, you can also justify the output. What do you mean by output justification? So when you are printing the name, which is a string, okay, first of all, understand the meaning of statement number 4. In the statement 4, there is a variable name called name and colon and less than 9. Less than stands for, in this example, in the formatted output, I'm saying less than means it is left justification. What does 9 mean? 9 means you reserve 9 spaces for me. You reserve 9 spaces for printing me, is what it is. So every block you see here, the black block is representing one space. So if you count it, those are 9 spaces really. Out of those 9 spaces, what you have asked is, please print the name Anand on the left hand side. Left justification. Less than means left justification. So in the first 5 characters, because Anand has 5 characters, it will print the first 5 characters in the first 5 spaces, and next 4 spaces will be blank. Next, if you want to print Anand on the extreme right of your reserved space, you should use greater than. Statement number 5. Statement number 6, if you want to center the output, you should use cap symbol. Name, colon, cap symbol. Similarly, you can apply the same thing for other data types like age. Age is integer, right? So you can use less than 6. 6 indicates reserve 6 spaces for me, right? And since age has only 2 digits, it will print on the left hand side because you use less. When use greater than, 21 will be printed on the right side. When use cap symbol, 21 will be printed in the center. Out of all those 6, first 2 are left, last 2 are left. Because 21 has 2 digits, it has to print in center. So 21 will be printed in the center. When it goes to height variable, 6.15, because you asked, see 6.2 here is totally reserve 6 spaces and print 2 decimals after the decimal point is what you are asking. Left side, less than symbol, left justification. Right side, right justification, greater than symbol. Cap symbol, middle, 6.15. This is how you can format the output, and you can also see the output whether it is left justified, right justified, or middle justified, centered otherwise. So this is how you can justify the output, and this also I'll quickly show you. So for this you have to use formatted output. So as you see here, this is how you see the formatted output, right? So just for example, if I print the name here, and I say reserve 9 spaces, okay, so close the bracket. Just understand the output, but you will never know. You see, if I just select everything, you will come to know. So Anand is 5 spaces. After that, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 spaces are there. Totally 9 is what it has reserved, but it is not so easily understood, right? So what you can do is, okay, before I go to that point, let me quickly also show you right justification so that that would help you to understand it well, right? Every time I'm asking reserve 9 spaces, but since Anand is something that can occupy only 5 spaces, you are controlling where to print that Anand by mentioning this. So you see, now you'll understand. You see here, the first one, total 9 spaces are reserved, but the first leftmost elements are printed, leftmost spaces are printed in. If you look at this, right, if you search completely select, this is what it is. So this is again 9 spaces what I have selected now, but the print happened on the right side spaces. And if I search, if I just select this is all what it has reserved 9 spaces again, and it has left it left the first 2 spaces and last 2 spaces, and in between it has printed on. Make sense? This is very very important for you because we'll be printing print patterns using stars and all in future. Very very important from interview perspective and academic perspective. So that's why you have to understand all these things, how important these are, right? Similarly, it can be age this time. I'm just changing the variable name, and I am asking it to reserve 9 spaces again. So you can run this. You can see 9 spaces, right? So this should be 9. Yes. Out of 9, since age 21 has only 2 digits, all the 7 are blank, the rightmost. Here, leftmost 7 are blank, and then it started printing 21. Here also, total 9, out of which first 3 are left, because here there are you cannot center this 21 exactly, because total is 9. 9 minus 2 digits it has to print, so 7. 7 it cannot divide exactly, so 1 2 3, 3 spaces before and 4 spaces after. That is how it behaves. So generally in such situations the more spaces will be on the right hand side. That's what you see here, 3 spaces, here 4 spaces after. 4 plus 3, 7, 7 plus these two, 9 is what you see. So this is how you can ask to print any of this. And similarly height also, you just change the variable height here, and this is an exercise for you, and that would print whatever you want. All right. The 4 data types is what I'm going to cover. This would be the last session before you start writing any of the programs going forward. Okay. So it's the same thing. Say for example, Chetan is the name of a person and I want to store it in the program. How do I do that? The analogy for this is you assume that you get a cotton box which is labeled as a name, because this Chetan represents the name of a person. Okay, take a cotton box and assume that it is represented, it is labeled as name, and store that Chetan in that. So here Chetan is a string constant, name is a variable, okay, and box is a container which holds the name. Programmatically, if you want to write it, you have to write the statement name equal to Chetan. Okay, programmatically in the program you have to write name equal to Chetan. What is name here? Variable. Equal to is an assignment operator. Chetan in single quotes is a string constant. Well, similarly his age is 30. 30 is again a number. And how do you represent this? How do you convey this to a program? Again, assume that you take another carton box labeled age, because 30 represents age, and store this 30 into that carton box. Put this 30 into the carton box. So programmatically, you have to write the statement age is equal to 30 and his salary is this. How do you represent this? Assume there is another carton box that you need to consider, and it is labeled as salary, and put this number into that. Programmatically, in the program, you have to write a statement salary is equal to this. Does it make sense? Similarly, you want to know whether Chetan is CEO of the company or not. For that, take another carton box, and he is not the CEO really. So, is Chetan CEO? No. The statement Chetan is CEO is false. So, store this false in that. He is CEO. So, if you see here, you are dealing with the different types of data. Chetan 30 3256998.25 false. What are all these? These are different types of data. Chetan, when enclosed in single quotes, is a string constant. 30 is an integer constant. 3256998.25 is a float constant. Float constant. False is a Boolean constant. So these are nothing but the four data types. Programmatically, if you want to write it, you have to write is CEO is equal to false. But if you want to use a snake case, you have to use is underscore CEO is equal to false. Both are fine. So what does a data type really represent? Data type describes the type of data that is used in the program. So Chetan is one type of data because it is a string. 30 is a different type of data. It is an integer. 3256,998.25 is another type of data. It is a float. False is a Boolean. So a data type describes the type of data that you are going to use in the program. And there are certain operations that can perform on certain data types. Okay. So the data type will dictate what are the set of operations that are allowed on that data. And every constant has a data type. 30 is a integer constant. It has a data type associated with it. Chetan is a string constant. Its a data type is string, right? Like that. Every constant has a data type. Every variable also has a data type. Here, what are the variables? Name, age, salary, is CEO or is underscore CEO. These are all variables. All these variables also have some data type associated with it. Name is a string variable. Age is integer variable. Salary is float variable. Is CEO is Boolean variable. So what is integer? Integer represents the whole numbers, no decimal values, no fractions, nothing. Age is 30. Age is the best example for integer. How many times did you visit the doctor last week? It is an integer. You cannot say I have visited doctor 2.5 times. You cannot say I have visited doctor 10.3 times. Either 10 times or 11 times you might have visited. So these are all integers. So integer data type means it should not have any fractional value. It has to have a whole number. And remember, it can be a positive value or negative value. Certain things cannot be negative. When I ask you how many times did you visit the doctor last week, you cannot say -5 times. When I ask you how many pets do you have, you cannot say -10 pets. It can be zero or more. So some of these integers can be positive, some of them can be negative. But your bank balance can become negative while I still treat it as an integer. Or for example, the temperature can go negative, right? So still, if I treat temperature as only whole part, 23 degrees or whatever, then it can go negative. So -10 is also a valid temperature value. So integer means the characteristics of integer type is it should be a whole number, no decimal values, no fractions. It can be both positive or negative. When it comes to float, generally the values that represent fractions are represented as float. In this case, a salary. In this example, it has a fractional part associated with it. And of course, floats can also be positive or negative. Okay. Strings. String is a text, as I said, it's a sequence of characters enclosed within single quotes. And a Boolean, as I said, represents true or false. Okay, so these are the four data types that are enough for you to write some good programs to begin with. So how to use these data types? Let me show you. For example, again, I'll come to the same name. Name is Anand, I think, right? Anything. How do I know the type of name? You can use type function for that type name. See, it gives you class str. Str represents a string in Python. Same thing. I have age. Sorry, age is 30 or 20, whatever it is. I want to know what type of variable age is. You see, class int. Str is a data type. Int is a data type. Similarly, height is 6.1 2, 5 or whatever, and I want to print the type of height. What type of variable height is? It is float, right? Similarly, is underscore CEO is false. What is the type of is underscore CEO variable? Is boolean. So these are the four types that we have been talking about. str is a Python data type. Int is a Python data type. Float is a Python data type. Bool is a Python data type. Each data type has its own characteristics, right? So is a CEO, right? It's a boolean, right? Height is a float. All these things. These are the data types. So you can use a type to understand the data type of a variable. Make sense? All right. So int, float, str, bool. These are the Python built-in data types. All right. The last part of today's session is to write down some programs, interesting programs, and the list of programs will be shared along within the resources for you to practice for the whole next week. And before we get to this last part of this session, I would suggest you to please subscribe to Technolearnit. I'll give 2 minutes for you. Please subscribe, and I will be conducting polls and also surveys to understand what topics you want me to cover, stress upon, view more examples. And I am also going to share the list of programs as activity sheet, one of the activity sheets. So there also, this poll is important for me to understand what programs you felt difficult so that I can stress upon such programs so that most of the viewers will not get bored and they will get the exact content that they are looking for. So please, 2 minutes I'm going to give you. Please subscribe. Please follow us on all these platforms. And also please subscribe to our channel. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Once you subscribe, you can go to YouTube Shorts, and there you can find the quizzes. And the quiz questions are based on what we have covered, and they're very much relevant. There is no situation where you don't know the answer, because everything that we have covered in these sessions will be only part of the quizzes. So you can answer them so that you won't lose the connectivity on learning this programming through Python. That's why every day you will be getting the quiz questions in the morning, and you can practice them. It hardly takes half minute for you to go through them and guess the answer and validate your answer. So please subscribe to all these platforms before we jump on to the last part of this session. All right, for any kind of guidance on what we have covered, you can call us, or you can WhatsApp us on these numbers, or you can drop out a mail to this mail ID. Okay. All right, let's move on quickly. How do we convert the knowledge that we have gained so far into some meaningful programs that are helpful for you to practice and also appear for your lab exams mainly. Okay, not interview questions, but because interviews will be little bit tough than this level. But here is the thing. So the program asks you to print the name and age. So you are supposed to develop some code in Python to print the name and age. Very simple, right? How do you achieve this? A program to print name and age. So if you have to look at some examples. So when the input is John, okay, when the input is John, and the second input is 32, the output should be like this. The name of the person is John and the age is 32. And observe the full stop at the end. You have to follow this exact syntax. When the input is John Wiki with a value 55 in the second input, the output should be like this. Hope you understand all this, right? I'll give you a few minutes for you to understand the relation between input and output. How do you produce the output like this? What kind of code you have to write to produce output like this? Think of it. Yeah, did you get some idea? Let us quickly code it. And I always prefer writing such code going forward in the editor. Okay. And I also wanted to talk about comments, right? So you can write the comment. This program, what is program for? Describe the program in the form of comment. Is to print the name and age of a person. Yeah. Say for example, you want to put this in two different lines. Then you have to comment out both the lines. Every line that starts with, remember that starts with pound symbol or hash symbol is treated as a comment. Okay. All right. In general, if there is no input, I can say Anand and I can say age is 30 and I can print. But how to print? There is some specific pattern to follow. Customized out. If you just print name, comma, age, you'll just get Anand and 30. That's not what we want. So you look at the name of the person is. So you have to print that first. The name of the person is, then comma, name. Yes or no? So let me print till here and show you what happens. See, the name of the person is Anand is what you get. Clear? Okay. And the age is. So I have to continue from there. Okay. So how do you do that? With a space. And and the age is, where should I get the age from? From the variable age. So this is how you can use multiple strings within print and multiple values, multiple arguments. That's why this is one argument, second argument, third argument, and fourth argument. Arguments are separated by commas. Run this. You see, the name of the person is Anand and the age is 13. This is what we expect. And of course, we missed one thing, the full stop at the end. How do you add the full stop at the end? Different ways. Can you tell me? You can say end is a full stop. Yes or no? Run this. Yes, you got a full stop at the end. Earlier it was not there because you explicitly said end it with full stop. The other way of it, achieving is it without using and, just use like this. Meaning you are giving one more print element after this comma. So run this also, but there is a space. So to avoid this space, you have to once again go and change this separator to nothing. But if you don't use any separator here, the output would be clubbed together. I'll show you. There won't be any space between the name of the person is and Anand now because you said don't use any separator. You see, is Anand has been mixed up and all these things are mixed up. Okay, so for that you have to explicitly yourself maintain the spaces. See, these are all simple, seems to be simple, but to achieve that you have to really think and accordingly you have to change the code. Customized output is very, very important. See, now it makes sense, right? You have achieved everything as per your expected output, right? You can try any of these and this is how it should work. Okay, now you run this program multiple times. It produces the same output. Yeah, this is called a static program. Why? Because it doesn't interact with the user. It produces the same output every time. But what I want to do is I want to read the input from the user. To read the input, to read the input, okay, great. Suman Sri, you understood something from this session. I'm glad to know that. All right. So I want to read the input from the user at runtime. Like while running the program, I want to read the input. For that, you have to use another function input. Okay, you have to use function input. Let us see what happens if I use input. See, I have just used input like this. Okay, let me run this. You see here, it is just waiting for my input. I'll say name is Hemant and now it is waiting for second input. Why second input? Because I have used two input functions here. I have used two input functions here. Hemant has been passed as input to this and that Hemant is now stored in name. Now it is waiting for second input and say for example the age of Hemant is 23 years and you see what happened. The second input 23 has been saved in age and now it has produced the output as expected. Again, I did not change anything in the output, no. So now you see the name of the person is Hemant and the age is 23, right? Okay, let me run this program one more time. This time my person has changed. Okay, the name of the person is Madhuri and her age is 22. You see the output has changed accordingly, right? Now this program has become interactive. Why? Because it can act differently based on the input. So this time again, I'm passing the input as Modi and his age is 78 years. You see, the name of the person is Modi and the age is 78. Same program. I did not change the program. I'm running it once again. Okay. Name is Arvind and his age is 56. See, the output changes accordingly. That means the program is now able to interact with your input. Means it is capable of reading your input. Yes or no? Okay, clear? All good? You run your program. You give the input, you pass the input. Okay, you can give something blah 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 blah. Doesn't know, right? It doesn't know that it is exactly the name it has to do. You did not add any validation, any such things. So all that it needs is some input. Okay. However, when you run your program, it is waiting for your input. But how do you know that it is waiting for your input? Unless and until you look at the source code, you will never know that it is waiting for your input. But if you are developing the program and somebody else is running this program, they might know that your program is waiting for the input. So what you can do is you can add a prompt in the input function itself as argument. Enter your name. Okay. Here also you can say enter your age. For now, I'm just putting like this and let us see what happens. I'm running the program. See, now anyone who runs this program will understand that it's a time to enter the name. Say the input is Kumar and the age is 34. Yes, it has detected the input, it has produced the output accordingly. However, it makes sense for me to maintain a space between the prompt and the user input. Of course, that is where customization comes once again. I can use a colon here and put a space. I can use a colon here and use a put a space. Run this once again. You see, enter your name. My name is Mahesh and my age is 28. You see, the name of the person is Mahesh and the age is 20. Makes sense? This is all where the customization will come, and you have to be very, very careful and you have to really practice how to customize the output, how to write the code according to the requirement, right? Writing the code is not so difficult, but you have to adhere to these rules and you have to exactly develop some code that matches the expectation. That is what you have to really focus upon. That is why I have been stressing upon all those kinds of formatting the output, justification, and all good. Now you know how to write this program by yourself. Okay. All right. Now there is another way of mentioning multi-line comment. This is called multi-line comment. You can what you can say is you can put whatever code that you don't want to execute but you want to maintain within the file within three single quotes or three double quotes, but opening and closing should be one and the same. So now if you run it, remember your comments won't execute. Only the active code will execute. Comments are not active code. So the name is Karthik with age of 45. Program behavior won't change just because of adding comments in your program. So this is how you have this kind of comments, right? You can use comments like this. You can use hash to comment only a single line. But if there are multiple lines that you want to comment, you can use either double quotes, three double quotes, or three single quotes. According to what you have used in the beginning, you have to close the same single quotes or double quotes accordingly. Does it make sense? This is all about comments. So these comments are helpful, and you can of course write some extra things also here. When did you develop this program? On what date? Okay, developed on whatever date you can use, 10th May 2026. And by you can give your name or whoever has written this code, they can mention this. All these are for future references. So by somebody. Okay, you can mention all that. And then you can describe your program and all that stuff. So this is how comments will help you. These are really friends of developers where they will disclose more details about your program. This is a simple program, hence you may not really get a chance to understand the importance of these comments. But when you write some complex code, maybe hundreds of lines of code, then in between, while you add these descriptions of the comments, then that would help. First, you read the comment, which is a plain text, English like language, and then you will read the code, then you will understand, okay, this is meant for this is meant for this, like this. You can easily correlate the active code to your comment. All right. So this is how you can write the program. All right. So the code goes like this without any prompt. Okay. And here, this is how you can add the code and the same thing that I have shown you, right? And the separator is nothing. So you have to maintain the space by yourself. The next one is finding the area of a rectangle. To find the area of a rectangle, there are two parameters that you need to take as input. One is the length of the rectangle and the second one is width of the rectangle. Okay. Samples are given here. When the input is 10 and 15, the output should be 50 because the area of the rectangle can be computed using the formula length times width. So 10 times 5 is 50, 3 times 1 is 3, third test case, 22 times 10 is 210, 70 times 30 is 210 again, and 100 times 100 is 10,000, and that's what you expect. Right? What is the operation here you are doing? It's a simple multiplication. Let us try this quickly. Again, you can save these programs with the different names so that you can use them, but I am only overwriting the existing file. That's okay. But for you, when you are trying, so what you can say is first you need to read the length from the user. So enter the length of the rectangle. The prompt should be more suitable so that user will understand what is the context. Okay, length of the rectangle. Then enter the breadth or width of the rectangle and store it in breadth. Next, we are supposed to find what? Area. Take another variable and compute the value of that area. And finally, the area of the rectangle is, maybe if you want, you can add a comma, sorry, colon. And where is the result? The computed value is in area. So you can use area. This is just for, okay, look at this. Here we don't expect any description. So you can directly use area variable so that it will print. But just if you want to have a descriptive output, so okay, let me use the same thing, 10 and 5, right? 10 and then 5. You see there is an error. This is what I really wanted to understand, make you understand. What is this? Why doesn't this work? While the earlier program works well, but a simple operation is failing. Why is that? Look at the type error. Can't multiply sequence by non-integer type string. So as I said, when I talked about data types, there are certain operations that can be applied on specific data types. Here, what is the data type of 10? As you look at it, it seems to be integer. 5 seems to be an integer, but for the program, it is different. How do I say that? How can I say that? I'll simply tell you. You can print what? The type of length. Similarly, I may also print the type of breadth. And since anyways I know that I'm going to get an error, so I'm going to comment out these two lines for now. See, this is how you can understand more details about your variables. So it still prompts me, it continues because I did not comment that. So yeah, why is this 1 second? Line number 8, length is, oh sorry, length variable name is misspelled. So LENGTH. Yes. These are very common mistakes that everyone does, especially when you're starting with your programming journey. So, sorry, let it be. See what it states is, or let me run this once again. 10 and 5 is what I'm entering, but it treated 10 as string and 5 as string. So can you multiply two strings? No, that is where it says can't multiply sequence means string by non-integer type string. So you cannot multiply one string with another is what it is saying. It is treating 10 as a string, it is treating 5 as a string. Can you multiply a string with another? No, right? If it is integer, it makes sense to multiply two integers. It makes sense to multiply two floats, right? But here, since in the first place, why is 10 treated as string and why is 5 treated as a string? Because Python by default treats any input as a string. So the type of length has become string, the length type of breadth has become string. But from the end user point of view, what user has entered has to be treated as integers. So that is where we need to do something called typecasting. How do you do typecasting? You want to convert this string into integer. So you need to type in int. Int is another function you can treat for, you can assume for now. Okay. Now what I have done is I have added int brackets and I have kept everything within that and have closed another bracket at the end. Okay. Let us see now. 10 and 5. You see now it has treated 10 and 5 both as integers instead of strings. Why? I have explicitly, this is called typecasting, means converting one type of data into another. This is very, very important for us to write some programs meaningfully so that I can apply the operations that I am interested in. Not every operation is supported on every data type. So by default, Python treats every input as a string, so I have to convert that string type of data into my own data type. So here I wanted to treat both length and width, breadth as integers. So I have to write int, then brackets. Within brackets, that means this input will return a string. That string is converted into integer. Then it is stored in length variable. So if I ask to print the type of length, now it says that, okay, it is an integer. Same thing goes with breadth and now it prints integer. So I no more need these two statements. So I'm commenting them out. Now I can uncomment this because being length and breadth being integers, multiplication is allowed. Hence, the product of these two integers can be stored in area and that can be printed out here successfully without any errors from the execution of the code. So 10 and 5. See, the area of rectangle is 50. This is what I expect. However, the expectation is just 50, not the entire description. So that is simple to achieve, right? So instead of all this description, we just print area. This is how the programs can be asked in any way. It just prints 50. That is the expectation, right? Whether it is descriptive or not is a different story, but we have to adhere to what is asked here. So let us try with this final input 100 and 100 by running this program one more time. Is this interactive program or static program? This is interactive program because every time it asks me the input, based on the input, it can also produce different output. So this is an interactive program. So the output expectation, the expected output meets the output produced. So we are good with it, right? All right. And the other way, of course, is I would like to cover this quickly as well. So instead of going with two different things, you can write something like this. But here you are not going to ask anything, or you can say length and breadth. Okay. And finally, just put split. Split is another function actually. So there are so many functions actually in Python. So what you are going to do here is you will take two inputs here, a space separated generally, and both of them will be split based on a space. Then the first value will be stored in length and second value will be stored in breadth. Instead of two statements, you are able to achieve this within single statement. However, what would be the type of length and breadth? Can you guess? Now, hmm? I'll again comment these. I don't want to execute at this point of time, but just to understand the type of length and breadth. So yeah, 10 and see I'm giving space here. See those are strings again. Yes or no? But if as long as they are strings, I cannot perform the multiplication. So this is good, but before that, I need to convert this into. This is another way of doing int, and here you can put in that. Now you can compute because both of these are integers. And now go ahead and this. Sorry, extra closing bracket has come. Yeah, 10 and 5, all good. So this is how you can first read the input, put in, split it into multiple variables, and then you can convert those variables into whatever you want. And interestingly, you can club these two statements as well. How? Put a comma here and convert like this. Right? Right? So here, this is a prompt. Split that input into two, store them in length and breadth respectively. After that, update the length with integer part of the length, convert typecasting, convert the string type of length into integer type and store it here into the same variable, convert breadth into the integer, string breadth into integer breadth and store it in breadth, compute, print. 10 and 5 or 100 and 100 I try this time. Yes, produces the output. So this is another way of achieving the same code. And of course, here the conversion did not happen, but the conversion was applied temporarily while producing the output. Okay, you are converting string L into integer, you are converting string B into integer, multiplying them. So you are multiplying two integers, you are safe, and you are printing it out. Right? There are different ways to write the same program. There can be different ways to write the same program. It's up to you what you want to adopt. Calculation of simple interest, again very simple. Three inputs is what you expect. Principal, okay, the amount, basically the principal amount, the rupees, here in the case the currency basically. Then time period and also rate of interest, or principal, rate of interest and time period. And the formula is PTR by 100, no? Principal times time times rate of interest divided by 100. So your answer is not descriptive again here. It is just 1000 times 18 times 2 divided by 100, which is 360. So this is how you can achieve this. I am sure you can write the program for this. So always remember, if you are working on some operations that are not supported on strings, if you have to treat the input different than strings, typecast it. Okay. Once you typecast, everything is works well. So, for example, you want to enter the height. How do you convert it into float is what I'm going to show finally, so that you can practice rest of the programs easily. So height, for example, enter your height. No split because it's just single in. But if you write like this, height would be string type. So convert it into float by using float function. Now you can, of course, there is no computation as of now, so you can say your height is height 6.25. It comes as it is. Even the beauty of this conversion is that now you can add or subtract. Say by mistake you have given 0.05 extra, so I want to subtract that and then you want to print it. All these things can be done, but as long as it is string, you cannot perform subtraction, right? So again, I give it as 1.25, but finally I got it as 6.1 because in between I have done some computation on that input, user input. So this is how you can convert the string into either float or integer, and then you can perform the operations and you can finally produce the output as per the expectation. All right, so that's all for today. This is the end of this session. And once again, please subscribe here for all these social media platforms. And as I show you here, if you subscribe to YouTube channel, mainly you will be getting all these. 1 second, you'll be getting all these quiz questions every day, and yeah, the quiz will be pushed into the shorts in the form of shorts, and you can refer to this, and the live sessions will be available here. You can refer to this anytime. And the resources mainly, in couple of minutes you'll be getting the content of session 2, right? And you can refer to them. And for session 1, if you have not gone through it, this is how you can just have a look at like how the content will be, and you have to perform. Some of these are learning resources, some of them are practice resources. You just go through them in the same order so that you'll get an idea. Like this is activity sheet. All the activity sheet you have, these are all hands-on exercises. And here what you're supposed to do is described here. You have to just follow these things. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop a note or call us on either WhatsApp or this number. We are here to help you, and you can also drop a note here. And please follow us on all these platforms, and so that it allows us to conduct the surveys and also get your feedback accordingly. We can stress upon the topics that you felt or most of the viewers felt difficult. That's all for today. And also in the resources section, the next live session link will also be updated here. So this is a website where you will be having most of the enough information for you to follow this entire series of live sessions. With that, I close this session, and happy coding and take care. Bye for now.